Okay, Pam. So thank you very much for joining me to have a chat about what it means to be a modern day priestess in this 2021 world. First off, would you like to introduce yourself to everybody and tell
Um,
everybody what you do?
okay, my name is Pam Shriver, and I do a couple of different things. I generally help people with their finances, and so that they can be congruent, do what they love. I'm learning that a lot of people feel like they need to put themselves first without feeling guilty, and money can open those types of blocks that may have happened along the way. Um, yeah, I help people kind of turn chaos into order. And yeah, I think that'll do it for now.
Yay. Well, I'm going to start calling you the money priestess
Okay. Okay.
because it's very needed, very,
Yeah.
very needed. So, yeah, thank you for being here, Pam. So, you are a priestess of the new earth.
Hmm.
You live in California,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So we've connected over the many, many kilometers or miles, however we want to count them. What first called you to become a priestess? Is it something you knew you wanted to be, or is it something that you kind of found out about and thought, oh, I'll go and have a look? How did it work for you?
Um, Interesting enough, I had been following you for actually several years, and I had taken you had this extreme self-care, like 4 day workshop. I want to say probably last October, November. I had attended like offline, through the replay, a sort of a little bit of your business program, but I missed the timing. It just wasn't, I couldn't get my timing right. But this extreme self-care program came across, and I was like, yes. I don't know what comes out on the other end of that. And I had no idea about priestess types of things. And I was like, I really need that. It'll pull all of the loose ends of my life together. And sometimes I don't know exactly why I agreed to do something until the process is over. And I had to make the commitment to
You did, didn't you?
come every uh, Wednesday morning at 5 a.m. So I would get up at 4:45. I do not get up at 4:45 to do anything. And it was one of the most amazing commitments that I actually made for myself. So that's what brought me in.
Interesting that the energy brought you in without kind of connecting too much with the words.
Correct.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, which is actually kind of what we want because the labels are not so important, are they? I mean,
No.
no.
Um, yeah, I, I actually had no idea. I don't think I even paid attention to the part about the priestess until it was delivered as a priestess process. And I thought, okay, well, and I trusted you from, I guess, knowing you through the internet. Um, and actually, a friend had introduced me to your work a couple of years prior. So, just over time. So I don't know. I just felt very comfortable about the priestess process. And I think you carry different frequency in how you actually speak the word priestess. And because it's so clear and aligned to who you truly are, I've been in some of those other types of tribal events and all okay, but you've embodied the work, and it's we've had an upgrade kind of in the way I think women and especially most people, well, I don't know, there's just an upgrade in everything in our world, and you've already embodied that. You're kind of a leader and a role model because you've done those types of things. So the word priestess carries a different frequency in the way you speak it, as opposed to maybe something I've done in the past. And you shifted. I mean, and I've shifted because of it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Pam. Yeah, what I'm hearing is a kind of more of a leadership thing, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but not necessarily of others, but of ourselves.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you want me to speak a little bit to what happens here is that
Please.
It's a general process over time, and you don't really realize it's happening, but you're gaining more and more of your true self as we go through each week, and each kind of, I think 3 major sections, and there's a lot of transformation that just happens by holding the space with, not the traditional way, but we are very open and honest with each other. And there's this growing sense of trusting yourself without editing what you might say to others, where you may have edited those things in the past or doubted what you truly felt. But you great with the elements, there's earth, water, air, and fire, in the inner feminine, the inner masculine. We pull all those things together, and you realize that you're kind of a sphere of influence, and by using all of those tools, you're working from your center out, as opposed to letting the outside world make your decision. You don't let those things condition you as much anymore. So I hope that makes sense.
It makes beautiful sense. Thank you. Yeah. And what I love about what you're sharing is that some people come into the priestess process because they're called to be a priestess. Maybe that's kind of more of a European thing. I don't actually know. I think there's lots of priestess type things stateside as well, so maybe not. But what I love is that your experience is saying exactly the same thing as those who come in knowing, who kind of attach more to the priestess word.
Okay.
Because what you're actually sharing is that it pulled things together, and it kind of like brought you together on the inside. And when we do that, which is what the leadership of the self, isn't it? Because we know who we are, we know what we're capable of, what we're not capable of. And so we can then start to work to our own strengths in a very practical way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think for me, it's really helped, and I used the word before, shed off things that really aren't a priority to where I am in my life and going forward. And I would say, I'm actually helping some of my clients, like we learn about the moon phases, and it took me a bit of time to, just a microscopic shift. It creates a huge trajectory change. So, okay, remind me, this is the new moon. This is where we are, energetically, what's going on. And then, okay, you're in, full moon, what's going on energetically. And when I'm working with some of my clients, I'll say, it's new moon. We can set an intention, and let's, keep that as a priority through the month. And that takes practice. And month by month by month, I'm like, oh God, it's going to be new moon. Okay, I got all of that, thinking of other things. What did I write down? Where am I working from? I mean, I'm a pretty focused person anyways, but it just helped bring a congruency to my life that I was like, okay, this is where I am. This is what's achievable. I can feel the energy is, kind of slowing down towards the, after full moons, like, okay, wrap things up. And that rest that I needed in my body that really I never took really set in. And that's where the self-care came in. It's this like deeply healing process of these practices, things I've done most of I would say for at least the last 20, 25 years. And I always worked within the equinoxes and the solstices. So, that's 4 times a year, but now it's every month. And it's sort of like, okay, let's weave those things in together. So yeah, it's made a deep healing of my own physical body to work within these natural rhythms, and which as part of, you'll learn about your shamanic astrology, which the word shamanic really bothered me. I don't know why, but but I love shamanic astrology because it brings in the purpose, and it was much more relatable to me than any other kind of astrology. And I have a strong background in human design, but just like pulled everything together with the planets. And so very, very much pulling in all those kind of loose pieces, and you can do it at any point in your life. And I kind of, it is where it is in my life, but if you can do this sooner, I think you'll have, and we have the energetic support of the way the world is shifting, and the universe is shifting. So it's much easier, I think, to take on some of these practices, whether you do them with others or just for yourself.
Yes, it's a very inner process. You're absolutely right, Pam. And thank you for sharing all that you have. And I think you're absolutely right. It just starts to make sense of what we've already done, because it is an inner process. So we can take the parts, as we always say, the priestess process will up level you where you're at. So everybody's experience will obviously be different, but for people who are more experienced, and I hear in some areas this wasn't new to you, but it kind of takes you to that next place. Yeah, really, really cool. And what I love especially is what we spoke about at the beginning, actually, is that your expertise is in the area of money, and that's how you support women. And it's an area of passion of mine as well, that as women, we absolutely deserve to earn our own income. And that doesn't mean that we need to, say goodbye to other forms of support, but it's as a priestess of the new earth, it's really important that we are able to make our own decisions and not to have to rely on other people to help us make them. And I know that's part of your work, isn't it?
Yes. And I empower people to align to their own truth. And sometimes you don't know what that is, because you're frayed at the edges, because you're doing so much for other people, even though those could be your clients, whatever. And it's very important to really listen and sense what your body might be pointing towards, whether you're making purchases. Are you charging enough? Are you able to live a balanced life where you're not working all the time because you're not charging enough? Are you having problems communicating with the rest of the family members? Again, we are very resourceful as women, and we actually seem to be able to do everything for everybody else. And this has, been a big process for myself, is that I helped a lot of other people do very, very well. And I kind of put my own self back on the back burner. I didn't realize that. And my body realized that it was breaking down, and it takes some time to, recalibrate and know that you are totally worth putting yourself first. And when you actually, it's just like in the airlines, you got to put your oxygen mask on first before you can help anyone else. And I think it's really important that, and take some time to figure out maybe what you want to do, but money is just a tool to, your finances are very important so you can have investments later in life. Yeah, I'm just thinking what else I could say about that, but we aren't very well educated in any system, I think, across the country about how to manage our money and how to invest it, even just within your own family and your own choices. And those make a big difference in the world that you want to create. I guess I'll stop on that.
Yeah, well, it's your area of expertise, so it's lovely to hear you so passionate about it, and I share that passion. Obviously, it's a little bit of a different frequency because you're the money priestess. I'm not. I just share that passion. It's really, really important for us to, as modern day priestesses, particularly to understand. So,
Well, and you bring in, and we might be going long, but you bring in the sacred money archetypes just a touch in the priestess program, which I've worked with money for my whole career. And I was like, wow, this really is a very important piece too. And I love to learn anything I can about business and money. And that piece was like, wow, I needed that for myself. And by embodying that, it helps me understand, other people aren't like me. I have my skill, my gifts, and I need to claim them, And I think the priestess process, that's probably the number one. You get to claim your own gifts in whatever they are. And yeah, I would say that's probably the number one thing. And that takes a little bit of time to do, or did for me.
Oh, absolutely. I think it does for all of us, Pam. Absolutely. And it is the essence of a priestess, in that it's sacred self-love. It was the thing that brought you in. I love myself enough to honor and acknowledge without ego what I came here to do, which is essentially our gifts. So
yeah, so true.
Yeah. Well, I love that you joined us in the way that you did. I think you did pretty much manage through the 9 months to be there live, or pretty much every time.
Every single time, except for one, I was ill, and one, there was something in France happened that we had to redo at a different time. So.
Yeah, I see. I vaguely remember that. Yeah. So if anybody's listening.
Yeah. And then I would re-listen, and I basically did the whole program twice. It was that important to me. So.
Yeah, so it can work via replays. We do have priestesses that come through who do pretty much via replays because of time differences. So it's a shame when we don't get to see people live, but
and we get to dance.
And we get to dance. Absolutely. My goodness. Okay. It's one of my favorite parts. Yeah. Did in true sacred ways. Well, thank you, Pam, for being willing to come and share your experience with everybody today. Is there anything else you'd like to share while you're here? You've said some beautiful things and really helped people understand how this can be very sacred, but also very practical.
Oh, very practical.
Marrying the two things together.
Yeah. Well, I think there's something that you bring, Sarah, that not every person has. And I say that really, you have helped me, and I've seen it with others, really embrace who we truly are. And I never have felt judged or criticized. And I really applaud you. It's a great body of work, and you're extremely generous. And your core with the flower essences, again, that's another piece. So yeah, it's an incredible body of work you've put together, and a great gift that you've given to humanity, truly. And I really appreciate and feel so fortunate to work with you and continue to work with you.
That's so sweet. Thank you. And I allow that. I allow myself to receive that. And as a fellow nurturer, that's not always easy for us to do. But yeah, thank you. the priestess process helps us all to see that we are all reflections of each other. So
Yeah.
I shine that back to you as well.
It's a wonderful journey, and you know, when it's your time, you know, come join us, and you can be independent as well. So
Absolutely, it is about timing. Absolutely. So Julia is here. I know you know Julia. Pam, she's here and saying hello and thank you for sharing. So I can see there's some other people live, but and again, this is not an obligation, but if you're live or via the replay, please do come and give Pam some encouragement, because it's a brave thing to come and share your story, because when we do these things, we don't know who's listening or watching. So by you taking part in the conversation with us is helpful. So once again, thank you so much, Pam,
thank you
for joining us. It's been lovely to speak to you. Yeah, and I'm so glad that you are now a priestess of the new earth and taking this forward now with your own clients. That's very beautiful to hear. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.